Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we have our first of two new rules videos I'm going to go with. They're not necessarily reviews. In this one, we're going to take a look at Darnath Lysander, captain of the first company of the Imperial Fists. Many foes have sought to shatter my mind and spirit. I bear the myriad scars of their wasted efforts. In my veins runs the blood of dawn, and while my heart still beat, I shall never be broken. Pretty cool quote there, I think. Obviously, Lysander has got a brand new model, he has some new rules. We're going to have a look at his Dataslate, and we're also going to take a look at the brand new Imperial Fists detachment, very much like the Salamander's got, and we'll round out with a look at their new combat patrol, which, in my opinion, and you are welcome to disagree, but I think it was the best of the 4 new Space Marine combat patrols announced, so we'll take a look at that as well. But first off, this one, I'm not going to read through it. This is just a lore article about the big man himself. Talking about the Imperial Fists, Lysander, his weapons and war gear. That's the new model. Very nice. He isn't one that I'd be picking up, although I think it would be quite easy to de-Imperial Fist him. I was going to say de-fist, but that's probably not the right terminology. I'd be tempted to do certain things, tweak elements of the model and maybe make a Space Wolf Terminator captain. Not that Space Wolves can take Terminator captains that gain the majority of their rules, which is stupid. And we do have Arjak Rockfist and Logan Grimnar, so we don't really need it, but potentially down the line I may use this for a kit bash for a character. Custom character, something like that. But just a really nice model. How about we go and have a look at his Dataslate now? So this is basically the same as is currently in Codex Space Marines, apart from one key difference. He has an extra wound. His abilities are still the same, his weapons, his war gear, the damage that he does, everything else is exactly the same in Codex Space Marines, but instead of 6 wounds he's gone up to 7 because he does have a Storm Shield, and part of the Storm Shield rule currently is that you gain +1 wound, which is quite nice. And I think 7 wounds kind of fits a character of his stature. So we're going to run through this in full, but what do you actually get with a new Lysander profile? 5-inch movement, standard Terminator, toughness 5, standard Terminator. 2-up save, 4-up invul, standard Terminator. 7 wounds, 6-up leadership, only 1 OC, no big surprises there. War gear and weapons, he has the one weapon, the Fist of Dawn. It has devastating wounds, it is a thunder hammer, so range melee, 5 attacks, hits on 2s, strength 10. -3 AP, 3 damage. He is going to do some work with that hammer. Throw him up the board with some Assault Terminators, which will hopefully get the Terminator love soon, and he's going to cause some problems. Abilities, so Core, Deep Strike, and Leader, no surprises there. Faction, Oath of Moment, standard Space Marine faction. His 2 abilities, the first one, Icon of Obstinacy. Each time an attack targets this model's unit, if the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than or equal to the toughness characteristic of that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So you can only take Terminators, so it's going to be strength 5 or higher, -1 to wound. Very nice. And then Rampart, once per battle at the start of any phase, this model can use this ability. If it does until the end of the phase, this model has a 2-up invul save. So a 1 phase 2-up invul when you desperately need him to stay alive. I think that's quite a nice ability. It's not overpowered because it is that once per battle and it is just for a phase, it's not for a turn. I think that's quite nice. Leadership, you can run him with Assault Terminators or the new Terminator Squad. Hopefully the Assault Squad will get some new models soon. They already have the bodies, they just need to do the arms. I don't know why it hasn't happened. It's been over 2 years now. Let's get these Assault Terminators and make everybody happy. Haven't got points for him, I've just checked the app. My app hasn't updated and haven't seen any new points anywhere. If I remember and we find out, I will tag them in the comment section just so we have an idea of how much he is. His old model was 100 points. I think that's about fair. Even with the extra wound, there's not any real changes to him. I think 100 points is a pretty decent mark. You might see a little bit of increase because of that extra wound, but honestly, 100 sounds pretty good. And the Imperial Fists don't have a huge amount, do they? So it would be nice for them to get some good characters at good prices. Faction keywords, Adeptus Astartes and Imperial Fist, so he's locked into that chapter. Keywords, inventory character, epic hero, Imperium Terminator, Captain, Darnath Lysander. So, as I say, no surprises, really. The extra wound is nice, but I suppose it fits. and I guess you need to give these new models something a little new, but this is a completely free dataslate that you can download from WarCom, start using in the games if you have access to the app or you use the app. It should update at some point soon, so yeah, if they're gonna make new character models despite them already having profiles in current books, it is good that when they update them, they release that rule set for free. I'd love them to be included in the box with these models, but that's never going to be the case. Not in full, anyway. But he's not bad looking, he's exactly what you expect, and that is no bad thing. The new Imperial Fists Detachment. Emperor's Shield. Detachment rule, the Wrath of Dawn. Each time a model in your army with the Oath of Moment ability makes an attack that targets your Oath of Moment target, you can reroll a wound roll of 1. Incredibly strong. Alright, it's only against your Oath of Moment target, but rerolling hits of 1 and wounds of 1, that's nice. And it does fit that Imperial Fist theme, doesn't it? And then each time a model in a Darnath Lysander unit from your army makes an attack that targets your Oath of Moment target, you can reroll the wound roll. So Darnath's unit, yeah, I don't know how you build him now, because I was going to go Assault Terminators, big blob of Assault Terminators, deep strike them in, just go and have fun. But in this detachment, re-rolling the wound roll on your Oath of Moment target, you can still do the melee thing, but there might be an argument for taking the Terminator squad, packing them out with some Cyclone missile launchers, and just having fun. I suppose it depends how gamey you want to be, but Terminators with the rocket packs is just, I think they look amazing. I love them. Restrictions. Your army can include Imperial Fists units, but it cannot include any Adeptus Astartes units drawn from any other chapter. That's a fairly standard restriction with Space Marines. So our enhancements. Champion of the Feast. Adeptus Astartes model only. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. Once per battle at the start of any phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by other models in the bearer's unit as well. Judicia. I love the Judicia because he gives his unit of probably Blade Guard fight first. But an extra attack on his melee attacks is nice. That bumps him up a little bit more for those fights first attacks. Being able to pop that and giving your Blade Guard, are they 4 attacks each? Going up to 5 attacks? That's quite a nice enhancement. Obviously enhancements, it depends on the points cost as to if it's actually worth it. On balance, the only thing that you're going to get continuously with it is that +1 to attacks. It's not amazing, but already I've given you a use for it. For a pretty nice character in a block of Blade Guard that are going to be hard to shift regardless. Yeah, it might be okay. Disciple of Rhetoricus. Adeptus Astartes Terminator model only. Improve the OC characteristic of the bearer by 1. Once per battle at the start of any phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the OC characteristic of other models in the bearer's unit as well. That's on Terminator, so it's going to put them up to OC2 on the unit if you pop that enhancement. I mean, there's a use for it, but it better be cheap. It's not exciting, it's not flashy, is it? It's very useful for holding an objective for 1 phase. Is it that good? Indomitable Champion, an Adeptus Astartes Terminator model only. The first time the bearer is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase. On a 2-up, set the bearer back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed and not within engagement range of any enemy units with 3 wounds remaining. That's a variation on an enhancement that we've seen Space Marines. I think other characters probably have access to in certain detachments as well. It's useful, but it's not that good. You got to think that that Terminator unit, going back to 3 wounds, that's probably half the character wounds. But his unit will probably be dead, so he's on his own. On balance, I think skills like that are nice to have if you need, but also it's not something that I would necessarily choose because it's great to pop back up with 3 wounds, and on a Terminator there's probably no other better defensive profile model that's going to work with other than something big and expensive. But usually how I play my armies, I take a character and I take a unit that they can run with. If that unit's already dead, you're not getting a huge amount of bonus, but that's just my take. Finally, the Maladraxian Standard. Adeptus Astartes Ancient model only. I wonder if that will count as the Terminator Ancient as well. It probably will do, because they would have the Ancient keyword, I would guess. I've never really looked at Ancients. But Ancient model only. Each time an attack targets the bearer's unit, if the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of the bearer's unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. You know what, that's not bad. Space Wolf Terminators have that built into their profile, but if you can put that on, ideally a Terminator Ancient, you would see some decent use out of that. Apart from that, I'm not entirely sure what Ancients can go in. I think you can take Blade Guard. Can you run an Ancient with a squad of Blade Guard? That could be good. Yeah, it's not terrible. I think it's definitely better than Disciple of Rhetoricus. In fact, out of all of them, I think that's got the most use continuously through the battle. It's not terrible. Again, all of these, I can see use cases for them. It depends how expensive they are. And honestly, there's nothing that really excites me. Like that Ancient one, I'd consider taking an Ancient building into this type of Imperial Fist list with lots of Terminators and heavy bodies, invul saves, probably big guns at the back. But I don't know. It doesn't make me need to go out and get an Ancient to run with a squad of Blade Guards, squad of Terminators, whatever. Our stratagems, it looks like we have 5 new ones. Obviously, Armor of Contempt is still a staple. I'm not going to run through it. It is what it is. So our first new one, let's zoom in, actually. We have all this space, we may as well use it. Fury of the First. It is a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP when you're shooting phase or the fight phase. Target 1 Adeptus Astartes Terminator, Blade Guard Veteran Squad, Stern Guard Veteran Squad, or Vanguard Veteran Squad unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Effect: until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. If your unit is below the starting strength, add 1 to the wound roll as well. How does that pair with Stern Guard Vets? Because Stern Guard Vets got changed, didn't they? Their ability. See if we can find that out. I'm just skimming through. I can't actually see the change to Stern Guard that I thought we had. But I do see in the Codex Space Marines version 1.6 errata, which is from not too long ago, the Company Heroes, which is in the Combat Patrol for the Imperial Fists, but also quite a very solid choice to run with a character, usually a captain, but run with a character. One of the models in that Company Heroes has the Ancient keyword. So actually, that is quite obnoxious because they're decently pointed, decent wound, bringing in some extra resilience if you've got a named character or something that you're running with them. I don't think there is a named character that Imperial Fists can run with Company Heroes though. But still, that would twin nicely with that. I don't know what I'm thinking of with that one for Stern Guard then. I thought that they changed a rule. I thought that they were +1 to the hit roll if you're shooting your Oath of Moment target, is what I thought they were, but I think it got changed. I might be wrong. But either way, it's not a bad stratagem. In the fight phase, Terminators, Blade Guard, just extra damage, being able to do extra stuff, and if you're below starting strength, so you lose a unit, you pop that, +1 to the wound roll as well. That's pretty tasty. For 1 CP, yeah, absolutely. Obdurate Vengeance is another battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP when fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. Target 1 Adeptus Astartes Terminator Blade Guard Veteran Squad, Stern Guard Veteran Squad or Vanguard Veteran Squad unit from your army has been selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Effect: until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed. If that model has not fought this phase, roll 1d6, and on a 3-up, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, and is then removed from play. 3-up fight on death for a CP, I think that's pretty nice. Wrathful Conquerors is a strategic ploy stratagem for 1 CP. When your movement phase, target 1 Terminator Squad, Blade Guard Squad, Stern Guard Squad, or Vanguard Veteran Squad. There's a theme here. In fact, all of these except the last one are those same units. So it's your veteran units. From your army is within range of an objective marker you control. Effect: that objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any phase. Sticky objectives with veteran units. For a CP, I think that's quite nice too. Disciplined Extermination. 1 CP, Battle Tactic Stratagem. When you're shooting phase, target Terminator, Blade Guard, Stern Guard, or Vanguard unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Effect: until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Ignores Cover ability and improve the armor penetration characteristic of such weapons by 1. You know, that's not bad either. +1 AP for Stern Guard bolters, or maybe special weapons in a Terminator squad. You're not going to get a huge amount of use with Blade Guard because I believe they still only have heavy bolt pistols. Vanguard veterans are more melee focused, aren't they? Probably not a lot of use in your shooting phase on them, but that would pair nicely with Stern Guard, and it would pair nicely with the standard Terminators. Finally, Dropship Extraction. It is a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP. When end of your opponent's fight phase, target 1 Adeptus Astartes Terminator unit from your army. You cannot target a unit that is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Effect: remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. 1 CP, uppy downy on a Terminator squad. I don't think there's a bad stratagem in this list. I think the units it targets feels very thematic for Imperial Fists, but also, I'd argue, any other Space Marine chapter that likes to take these kind of units. I think the detachment rule, and with this one you are building into Imperial Fists. You're going to be taking Imperial Fist characters. You're certainly going to be taking the new Lysander because he gets that extra little bit for a squad. But generally it's a nice Oath of Moment addition as a Wrath of Dawn detachment rule. The enhancements aren't that exciting, although that standard gets better and better knowing that you can put it on a Company Heroes. And Company Heroes, Stern Guard, Blade Guard, Terminators, these are all nice chunky solid units that you can do some real fun things with. The stratagems work quite nicely. An Armour of Contempt, it might be a bit boring now, we might have seen it in just about every Space Marine detachment ever. I don't think Space Wolves have it, but it has its uses, let's be honest. This is a nice detachment if you're going Imperial Fists. If you really want to play the yellow, or maybe even Crimson Fists and you just ignore the Lysander stuff. Because Imperial Fist units technically is all of your bog standard Space Marine stuff. I quite like Emperor's Shield. This is actually, looking at the stratagems, this is certainly an army that I'd enjoy building because of that veteran status of a lot of these units. But just narratively it sounds great. You are sending your best of the chapter to just go and wreck things. Yeah, I like this. This is pretty nice. Let me know what you think in the comments. For Space Marine players, people who play Codex Space Marines, what do you think of this? Does this make you want to run them as Imperial Fist? Remember, you can paint them however you want. You don't have to take the name characters if you don't want. But there's definitely some fun things to do here, I think. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so on to the Combat Patrol, the brand new Imperial Fists Combat Patrol. But also, this is probably the most generic Combat Patrol that you can buy. It's a really nice box. This is a standout, and probably of the last 10 Combat Patrols, maybe 7, 8 of them have been pretty good. This is a real standout. But let's run through this one. So this is the Rampart Force Torreus, and we're going to go through the units. We've got 4 different units that we can have a look at. We're going to go through the stratagems, the enhancements. How about we start with the ability? Oath of Moment is here because they are Space Marines. Oath of Moment, if you're not aware, start of your command phase, you pick 1 enemy unit, and until your next command phase, whenever you attack that specific enemy unit, you can re-roll the hit roll. It's a really nice addition, and especially in Combat Patrol where Space Marines are probably less bodies, although that's questionable with this one. It's quite a nice little buff to hitting. You're not necessarily getting the wounds through, you're not necessarily going to be doing damage, but it's still a very useful ability to have. Enhancements. So your captain model is your warlord and has the Imperium Sword enhancement, and you can replace this with the Sentinel of Terror. So, the Imperium Sword. Melee weapons equipped by the bearer have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. It's not terrible. Roll a 6 on your hit roll, you get an extra hit. Very nice. Or you can switch that out if you want for the Sentinel of Terror. You can target the bearer's unit with the Heroic Intervention stratagem for 0 CP. And can do so even if you've already used that stratagem on a different unit this phase. Free Heroic Intervention on your captain's unit, which is probably going to be your company heroes. They're not the most melee focused, but I think that there's a couple of melee options in there. It could be good. It depends if you want your captain to hit hard or the whole unit to just be a nuisance, constantly pushing into enemies and having them stationed at the front. Either way, you're looking at melee focus for your captain, not necessarily a bad thing. So, the stratagems and your secondary objectives. Again, secondary objectives, you've got a choice from 2. Your initial one is Wrath of Dawn. At the end of your turn, you score 4 VP if you control more objective markers than your opponent. Very specific, not always easy to do, but definitely doable. It's not a bad one. Or if you wanted to, you can switch this out for Indomitable Defense. At the end of the battle, you score 10 VP if you have more models within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield than your opponent. I know which units are in this box, so having seen that one is also doable. It's going to depend who you're playing, it's going to depend how the board is set up, and it's going to depend how you want to play. If you want to go and hold those markers for as long as you possibly can, Wrath of Dawn is a nice one. Personally, I quite like Indomitable Defense just because it's a real, right, I'm staying here, I'm not moving, you're going to have to kill me. That sounds more fun to me straight off the bat, but that isn't always going to be the case. We have 3 stratagems here. First one, Transhuman Might. It's a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP. When fight phase, target 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Effect. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If that attack targets a monster or vehicle unit, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So on a specific unit in melee, reroll wound rolls of 1 is going to be the general, the most frequently used one. It's not terrible if you want a unit dead, or maybe there's a character in there that you want to get through to, maybe you're going after a warlord or something, and he's locked behind his own unit. Yeah, definitely I can see it there. You're not the most melee focused army from the units that I've seen, so you're probably going to want to use that quite a bit to chew through things, but against monsters and vehicles you just reroll the wound for a CP, that's pretty nice too. But with Combat Patrol, not every Combat Patrol has monsters or vehicles, although a lot of them now are seeming to. Quite a few of the Chaos ones have either a monster or a vehicle, or both, and those units are very big, very tanky, and will stick around for a while. They're usually quite big threats, so definitely use there. Siege Masters is a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP. When you're shooting phase, target 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Effect. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Ignores Cover ability. It's not useless, but it's going to be, you're going to need to choose specifically units in cover, or there's no benefit. Obviously, that's what Ignores Cover does. It takes away that cover save. So yeah, it's going to have a use case, but you're not going to be using it all the time. It's not bad to have stratagems just in case. It's not the worst. And then finally we have the Architects of War, which is a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP. When your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, target 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Effect. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit has the benefit of cover against that attack. 1 CP, plus 1 to your save. That's pretty good, especially on a unit that's maybe camping an objective, so you can get that Wrath of Dawn. Yeah, not bad, especially with heavy intercessors, terminators, things that have good save or higher toughness. You're definitely going to see some use for that as well. Okay, let's take a look at our first unit, Captain Torreus, or just the Space Marine Captain that comes in the Combat Patrol. So realistically, he is standard Space Marine, and I'm going to say that quite a lot of this. But 6-inch move, toughness 4, he's got a 3-up save because he's a character, he has a 4-up invul, 5 wounds, a 6-up leadership, 1 OC. Weapon-wise, he's equipped with a Neo-Volkite pistol, which has devastating wounds and pistol, 12-inch range, 1 attack, hits on 2, strength 5, 0 AP, 2 damage. If you're getting shots through, it's going to be quite nice. It's going to do some good chip damage, certainly against units. And melee weapons, he comes with a Power Fist, which is range melee, 5 attacks, hits on 2s, strength 8, minus 2 AP, 2 damage. It's not terrible. In all honesty, he is, chuck sustained hits on there, he is pretty brutal. He can only be attached to the company heroes, which is what I thought that they would do. So that brings into question which enhancement you probably want to take on him. We'll take a look at that once we've gone through the rest of his card. Abilities, he's Call Leader, obviously has Oath of Moment. His individual ability, Finest Hour. Once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, this model can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 3 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by this model, and those weapons have the Devastating Wounds ability. So his Power Fist will go up to 8 attacks with dev wounds. Once per battle, it's not bad at all. If you want something dead, especially something big, very, very nice. So unit composition, he is just the one model, or he's classed as the one model. And he comes with that Neo-Volkite pistol and a Power Fist. Keywords: Adeptus Astartes, Inventory, Character, Imperium Tacticus, Captain, and then Captain Torreus as well. So, looking at his data card, I think it's quite tough. I know it's called Imperium Sword and he comes with a Power Fist. This happens quite a lot. It's not giving him a sword. Unless you want to model him that way, that would be cool. But putting Sustained Hits 1 on a Power Fist that 1 fight phase per battle can go 8 attacks and devastating wounds, that's very nice. Sentinel of Terror means you can do the heroic intervention for 0 CP, which is going to come into play because the unit that he can run with is Company Hero. This is a very nice unit, and in big 40k it does a lot of things. It's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. But in Combat Patrol, it comprises of an Ancient, a Company Champion, and 2 Company Veterans. Movement, Toughness, Save, all of it is generic Space Marine. So 6-inch move, Toughness 4, 3 up save, 4 wounds each, and it is a 4-man unit, 6 up leadership, and 2 OC. They're not bad at capping objectives, in all honesty. Ranged weapons, we have bolt pistols, 12-inch range, 1 attack, hits on 3 up, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, standard bolt pistol. Bolt rifle, again standard bolt rifle, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 3 up, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage. There is 1 mastercrafted bolt rifle in there, so that comes with devastating wounds and rapid fire 1, 24-inch range, 2 attacks. This one hits on 2 up, so slightly better on that ballistic skill. Strength 4, -1 AP and 2 damage, so another pip of damage. Really nice, but you only get 1. And then you also have the mastercrafted heavy bolter, which is heavy and sustained hits 2, 36-inch range, 3 attacks, hits on 3 up, strength 5, -1 AP, 3 damage. It's not bad. Melee weapons, most of these operatives have a close combat weapon, which is melee, 5 attacks. 5 attacks, I wasn't expecting that. Hits on 3 up, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, so it's not quite a wet noodle, but it's not great. That's a lot of attacks each model though. That's much better than I thought it was. And then the Company Champion comes with a mastercrafted power weapon, which is precision. When you get to a character, not bad at all, which is range melee, 6 attacks, hits on 2 up, strength 5, -2 AP, 2 damage. It will do work. But that is your only real melee threat. And as you want to be running the captain as a melee unit, that means this unit's going to be pushing in with him. You're going to lose your benefits of the bolt rifle, your mastercrafted bolt rifle, and your mastercrafted heavy bolter if you are in combat for a shooting phase. But then if you get up front, an opponent charges you, you've got a little bit of threat with an Overwatch, if you wanted to go down that route. But it is really a take all comers, probably more of a ranged unit because you're going to put out more damage ranged. I've always seen this as more of a support unit. They're bodyguards for the captain, good ranged fire, decent in melee with 1 character. But you see what I mean? Jack of all trades, master of none. Abilities, Oath of Moment, and Command Squad. While a character is leading this unit, each time an attack targets this unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So when that captain is in there, which he has to be for this combat patrol, -1 to wound on everything. That toughness 4 isn't sounding as terrible. 4 wounds each. Really, really nice. So as we've said, the unit is an Ancient, Company Champion, 2 Company Veterans. So the Ancient is equipped with a bolt pistol, a bolt rifle, and a close combat weapon. And on model terms, I believe that he's the one with the standard to give you that extra flair. But the standard doesn't have any real benefit here. It's already included, it doesn't have any separate rules. The Company Champion is armed with a bolt pistol and that mastercrafted power weapon, and then 1 Company Veteran is equipped with a bolt pistol, mastercrafted heavy bolter, and a close combat weapon. And our final Company Veteran has the bolt pistol, mastercrafted bolt rifle, and that close combat weapon. So while the close combat weapon isn't terrible, I would argue a lot of their damage is going to come from shooting, certainly with that heavy bolter and the mastercrafted bolt rifle, if you can get them to pop off. But not a bad unit. You throw the captain in there, there's quite a lot of sustainability, quite a lot of defensive buffs going in there. So when you pair them together, you've got quite a nice, strong unit. You've got 4 operatives that are toughness 4, 4 wounds each. Pretty nice. And as long as that captain is in their unit, -1 to wound, and then you throw the captain in there as well. Toughness 4, but 5 wounds for himself, and that 4-up invul. Quite a defensive unit. You're going to do some damage, but really they're going to be holding an objective, and I think that this unit really pairs nicely with Indomitable Defense. Our next unit, the Heavy Intercessor Squad. So this is a 5-man squad, and they are big, chunky boys. 5-inch movements, because they're slightly slower, that big armor slowing them down, but toughness 6. 3 up save, 3 wounds each, 6 up leadership and 2 OC, so again, not bad for holding objectives, and that toughness 6 is very nice. A really nice breakpoint. Weapon wise, they are equipped with bolt pistols, which we've already gone over, it's exactly the same profile. Heavy bolt rifle is assault and heavy, 30-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 3s, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage, and 1 heavy intercessor comes with the heavy bolter, which is assault, heavy, and sustained hits 1, 36-inch range, 3 attacks, hits on 4 ups though. Strength 5, -1 AP, 2 damage. Melee, they just have close combat weapons, but with 3 attacks. Hitting on 3s, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, still the same as the others, but much less damage output and threat. Very survivable, very shooty unit. You want these guys free and laying down covering fire. Abilities, obviously every unit in here has Oath of Moment, and they are comprised of 1 heavy intercessor sergeant, 4 heavy intercessors. The sergeant comes with a bolt pistol, a heavy bolt rifle, and a close combat weapon. 3 heavy intercessors are equipped with the same, and then there is 1 that comes with the bolt pistol, heavy bolter, and close combat weapon. Keywords: Adeptus Astartes, Infantry, Battle Line, Imperium Gravis, Heavy Intercessor Squad. Even though it's only 5 of these guys, they're going to be putting down a lot of shots, they're going to be tough to move, they're going to hold an objective for a couple of turns at the very least. For the roles that you have and those secondary objectives, very nice unit. The Humble Intercessor Squad. So this one is another 5-man squad in this combat patrol. Movement 6 inches, toughness 4, save of 3 up, 2 wounds each, 6 up leadership, 2 OC, so standard Space Marines. As we say, they're a 5-man squad. We've got bolt pistols, we know those already. Bolt rifle, this is assault and heavy, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 3 up, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage. You can take the Astartes grenade launcher, which has 2 profiles, so frag is blast. Again, these are both 24-inch range, same as the bolt rifles. It's D3 attacks, hits on 3, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage, but blast is a nice extra. Or you can take a crack grenade round, which is 1 attack, but hits on 3, strength 9, -2 AP, D3 damage. So good damage potential output there. And then they have close combat weapons. Or melee, it's exactly the same as the heavy intercessors. Again, they have Oath of Moment, unit composition, 1 intercessor sergeant and 4 intercessors, and they're all equipped with bolt pistols, bolt rifles, and close combat weapons, except 1 intercessor is also equipped with that grenade launcher. They're not a bad unit, they'll do a bit of work, but they're not going to stand out in this box. They're just your general infantry. So keywords: Adeptus Astartes, Infantry, Battle Line, Imperium Tacticus, and Intercessor Squad. Again, you can stick them on an objective, they've got a decent OC, but they're not going to shine. They'll do a bit of damage, they'll be okay in melee, but they're not going to hold their own for too long. But it's a nice inclusion in here, and you can't really give them 10 heavy intercessors, can you? That would be too much. You need something for your opponent to at least be able to kill. Alright, moving on to our last unit, Terminator Squad. Good, solid Terminators. 5-inch movement, toughness 5, save of 2 up, but they also have a 4 up invul, 3 wounds each, 6 up leadership, and 1 OC each. So they're not that good at holding objectives, but they are tanky, they're going to stick around, you're probably not going to lose too many of these, and they are quite a nice threat on the board. Ranged weapons, they come with my favourite. One of them can take the Cyclone missile launcher. So this is a 36-inch range weapon, but again we have, because it's missile launchers, we have 2 different profiles. So the frag profile is blast, 2d6 attacks, hits on 3 up, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, lots of attacks, little damage. Or if you feel like you're going to be rolling hot, crack is also an option. 2 attacks, hits on 3 ups, strength 9, -2 AP, d6 damage a shot. That will take something out very nicely if you are rolling them 6s. That's why I love the missile launcher. Crack grenades, crack missiles, absolutely, every time. And it gives you some real high strength punch to deal with vehicles and monsters, depending on what combat patrol you're playing against. And they also have storm bolters, so rapid fire 2, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 3s, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, nothing too fancy, but they'll put out quite a lot of fire. Melee weapons, they come with chain fists, which means anti-vehicle 3 up. Very nice. 3 attacks, wounds on 4 up though, it's only a 50-50 chance, but they are strength 8, -2 AP and 2 damage. And then the power fist is the same profile except it hits on 3s. So, Abilities, they come with Deep Strike. Very nice. Very threatening. And Oath of Moment. Unit composition, 1 Terminator Sergeant and 4 Terminators. Terminator Sergeant comes with a Stormbolter and a Power Fist. 2 Terminators are equipped with Stormbolters and Chain Fists. 1 Terminator is Stormbolter and Power Fist, like the Sergeant. And then finally you have 1 Terminator with the Cyclone Missile Launcher, Stormbolter and Power Fist. So you only have 2 Chain Fists in there. And with how Combat Patrol is built and focused, you have to have those 2 with Chain Fists. You can't say it's just Power Fists. But still, 2 of them, wounding vehicles on 3-ups, it's pretty good. In fact, it's very good. And then you've got 3 Power Fists in there as well. They're just a very solid unit. And honestly, outside of the Chain Fists, but again, it depends what you're fighting, I would go Stormbolter, Power Fist, and then throw on a Cyclone Missile Launcher for my 5-man squad. That's basically how I build them for my armies. Really, really nice unit. They're going to be tough to shift, and with Deep Strike you've got quite a lot of movement shenanigans if you deploy them later in the game. And while they're low OC, it's not necessarily a bad thing because you've got to kill them, you've got to shift them off objectives. That's not always going to be easy. And if we think about taking Indomitable Defense, it's all about how many models you have in the 3-inch of the center of the board. More models than your opponent, you get that 10 VP. The Captain and his company heroes are a very tough unit to shift. Heavy Intercessors are a very tough unit to shift. Terminators are a very tough unit to shift. You can see why that one might be a good option, depending on what you're fighting as a secondary objective. On the whole, I like this as a combat patrol for the models. It's one of my favorites, and I think the rules are all pretty solid. The stratagems are usable, but you're not going to be spamming any one of them. Feels like there's a bit of balance in there because each one is going to shine at a different moment in the battle, which is quite good. Your secondary objectives, there's definitely a choice between one or the other. You're not guaranteed to just be taking one of them, because it's easier to do. And as a set of profiles, I think that this is pretty nice. There is an Intercessor squad in there. It's only a 5-man, that's your weakest unit, but it is still Space Marines. They still put out some firepower. They still have 2 wounds, toughness 4. They're not the end of the world. Yeah. Very, very nice combat patrol. And I think the benefit with this combat patrol over most of the other ones, any of these units will work well in pretty much any Space Marine army. Unless you're really going Divergent chapters, then that's a whole other conversation. But this box is very plug and play, and every option in here, you're always going to want some battle line. Heavy Intercessors are nice, but Intercessors also work too. Captain with Company of Heroes and Terminators, you're going to find a place in any army that you're building or that you're adding to down the line. I think this is a great box. I like seeing this stuff for Combat Patrol. I hope that the Raven Guard one that we're going to look at next is just as good. Who knows, because it's a very different unit build. But as far as this goes, this is definitely one of my favourites. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.